We're all trying to find the perfect paper clutter system, aren't we? And this question comes up so frequently, like, how do you manage paper in your home? And so today I want to show you the full system, like everything. If a piece of paper comes into our home, it goes into one of these 4 places. But also there's 2 extra key pieces that we have added to our paper system as well that has made a huge difference. So I want to show you those too. Well, hi, I'm Dawn from The Minimal Mom. If we haven't met before, I'm married to Tom and we have 4 kids, ages 7 through 12. And paper clutter is a huge pain point for many of us, but there is hope. There is hope for messy people like me. For those of you who have put systems in place only to have them get overwhelmed with piles and piles of paper again, there's hope for us. And so I really want to encourage that today, that there is hope. So I want to show you our whole paper clutter system, like literally, this is it. Like paper comes in, it goes to one of these places. So I want to show you that today, but also talk through some key changes we've made that have made all the difference. And how on earth do we stay on top of it? How every week do we plan a time and do we stay on top of this paper coming in? I think I have some new ideas around that could be really helpful. All right, so let me show you the pieces of this and then we'll break it down a little bit more. So over here, this is long-term file storage. So this has file folders in it. This is things, taxes, business stuff, insurance policies. So this could be the form, we just have like this plastic file bin. It could be a file cabinet, a desk with file drawers in it, but this is our long-term storage. And then we have kind of like our paper central. So this is the stuff, this is the to-do items, the bills to pay, the calendar items, receipts that I might need to access again. So this is where the bulk of the in and out of paper in our house is taking place. And this even can take many shapes and sizes. There's the weekly planning basket. This I like because I like how it stands more vertically. I've shown this one before. This is nice because it's really portable. This is a 31 bag that my mom got at a garage sale. It can be something like this, a little bit prettier, blends in, but again, your file folders stand up in here and you can have your different categories in there. It can also be a file holder that goes on the wall for those of you who are more visual. I like to tuck mine out of sight when it's not being used, but if you're very visual, you need to see the stuff, you could have a file holder on the wall. So some place that the bulk of our to-do stuff and that kind of stuff goes into, stuff we have to reference. So that goes into there. Then 2 things I have added that have been really key are the time will tell basket. We'll go into more depth about this. And this was from a brilliant woman in my Facebook group who said, I got a red file folder and I put all of our super important documents like passports, birth certificates, car titles, really important stuff goes into here. So if, fire or natural disaster or whatever, you just grab this and everything's in here. Or just the regular thing, like your child is taking their driver's license test and they need their birth certificate, right? Where's that, So those kinds of things go in here. We're gonna talk a little bit more about this as well. So we're gonna go into a little more detail about each of these because I want you to be set up for success, and I believe that this can do that for you. The main thing we have to realize is that no paper system is going to do it for us. And I know so many of us have gotten frustrated because we put something like this in place only for a week, 2, 3 weeks later for it to be mounded up with paper again and for us to feel like losers and say that didn't work. The problem is it wasn't their fault. It wasn't actually that this didn't work. It's that we didn't work the system. We didn't work it, right? So how do we do that? Here's something that has been so helpful and mind-changing to me when it comes to figuring out why I can't stay on top of this stuff. So today's video is sponsored by Blinkist. We're so grateful for their support. But there is a book. It is called The Four Tendencies by Gretchen Rubin's. And if you go to Blinkist, Blinkist is an app that takes all of these wonderful nonfiction books, takes the main points and boils them down into blinks that you can read or listen to. So you get all of the benefits of reading the full book without having to read the full book, right? Now, let me tell you, sometimes I go on to read the full book because I'm like, that is so good, I want to learn more. But other times I'm like, got the main points, I'm good to go, right? So if you listen to this book on Blinkist, what you find is that There are 4 tendencies or 4 types of people when it comes to how we manage expectations, both expectations of others and expectations of ourselves. So this would fall into the expectations of ourselves. My expectation when I put this into place is that I am going to maintain this and I am going to keep it up. However, some of us are accountable to ourselves. We do it. Those are the people when you drive by the gym at 5:30 in the morning, their cars are parked there. They're all the type of people that are accountable to themselves, right? And the rest of us are like, what's wrong with me? Why can't I be like that, right? Because some of us are accountable to other people. So we're gonna talk about how we can put that in place. But Blinkist is so cool because when we learn these things about ourselves, when we figure these things out, we're not so hard on ourselves, right? We beat ourselves up all the time. And so I love that Blinkist has thousands of titles. If you want to learn new habits, if you want to have healthier relationships, if you want to understand the way you work or other interests that you may have, you can find all these books on Blinkist. You can get the main points and implement them right away. And we have a link down below where you can try out Blinkist completely free for 7 days and get 25% off a premium membership. And I truly see it as an awesome tool to learn how to work with our own wiring and tendencies instead of against it. And this has been one of the biggest things I have had to learn as we've simplified our home, is that just because it works for someone else doesn't mean it's gonna work for me. So the person who came up with like the Sunday basket, kind of the creator of the weekly planning basket, was Lisa from Organized 365. And do you know what she says? She says, every Sunday night, I sat down with my Sunday basket and I went through it for the week. And I'm like, that is so great for you, Lisa, right? Like, she's obviously someone who is accountable to herself, right? So what about the rest of us? I know some of you can put this in place and you can get the pretty folders and you can write the categories and then you'll do it. What about the rest of us? We might need some kind of outside accountability. So again, I want to encourage you, your system might not be broken right now. There might be some additions we can make that'll make it run much more smoothly. And again, we'll talk about those, but your system might not be broken. If it's getting overwhelmed with tons of paper, what that means is that you're not planning a time each week to go through it. That's what it's telling us, okay? So if I'm not planning a time each week to go through it, it might mean I need some outside accountability. So who in my life or in the online realm could help hold me accountable? There's lots of great Facebook groups. You could text a friend or sister and say, hey, I wanna start this new habit. Will you do it with me? You could even ask your child and say, hey, on Sunday night when we're watching this show, I'm gonna sit down and go through my basket. Will you help to hold me accountable and make sure that I do that? And so we just need someone else to know about it. And if you're wired this way, you're gonna feel an obligation to them. Doesn't matter what commitment you make to yourself, you'll break that all day long. But if you tell someone else about it, then you are much, much more likely to actually do it and go through it. So again, I don't know that your current system is broken, but maybe you want to spruce it up a little bit, right? So let's talk about these two things a little bit more, and then we'll circle back to this guy too. This has been the biggest game changer for my paper clutter. So like I said, it's the time will tell basket. So like I said, okay, mail comes into the home, or you take something home from work or a doctor's appointment or all of that. It needs to go into one of these 4 places. And what I had found in the past is that there's often things we just don't know about, right? What about when the seed catalog or clothing catalog comes in? What about coupons? What about an order form you're not sure if you're gonna order it from? What about paint samples or a quote to get the siding replaced? Where does that go? It's not a to-do. I don't have to order the seeds or the clothes from the catalog. I don't have to use the coupons. So I don't want it going into my to-do item because that just makes that folder thicker and then I'm much more likely to avoid it. Where do those things go? That's where the time will tell basket comes to play. Now this can be put out of sight because no to-do or action items are going in here. It's all stuff that if I never got back to it, it doesn't matter. And what's so cool about this is time will tell is that over time, most of the stuff in here will expire or tell me that I'm not using it. The catalog's from spring and now it's winter. The coupons are expired. The paint samples, I went with a different color and never used those, right? So over time, I decide if I'm actually going to use these things or not. I love the idea that you actually, when it starts getting full, you flip it over this way and start at the bottom to throw stuff away, because that's the oldest stuff, right? And then the stuff on top you can usually put right back in. But this can be kept out of sight because we're just tossing stuff in there. And then if I do decide, oh, I'm going to Culver's today, I want those coupons I got in the mail, then I can reach in the basket and grab them. And so it doesn't have to be a big container. And what's so cool about it, like mine is empty most of the time now, because I've realized everything I put in there just never actually gets used, because like I just don't end up using that stuff. And then this guy, like I said, I just think this is so great, because there's nothing worse than that frantic feeling of like, oh my goodness, I need to find this for that. And it's usually some kind of tight timeline, right? And I'm like, where is it? You know, I tried to make a folder in the file cabinet for all the important stuff, but did Tom put it back in there, or where was it the last time I used it, right? And so by assigning a home like this, that, I mean, I just love even that it's red, right? It's like, this is so important. So by having a home like this for your vital documents, it's so obvious, right? And I mean, honestly, Tom did a great job. Like, he would put it all in our safe, like all the really important stuff, but it still wasn't like all together. And I still just wanted to be like, okay, if I needed something, do I know for sure that it's in there? And I never have to worry if I've gotten other stacks of paper that something really important's in it, because I know they're in here. And so it takes off the stress from the other stacks of paper as well. Okay, so let's talk long-term paper storage real quick, and then we'll circle back to our weekly planning container. So when it comes to long-term storage, I love what Marie Kondo says. She's like, our goal is to keep no paper at all. So anything that comes into the home, I am super selective now of what I keep. Now, many people scan stuff. We don't scan. I don't scan stuff. So we still use regular old-fashioned file folders and all of that. But the best tip for this is to use broad categories and to always put the year on it. Now, most of us do this with like our taxes, but start doing this with other things too. Receipts and insurance policies and all these different things. Put a year on it so that you'll know if you come across, oh, an insurance policy from 5 years ago, well, that can go, right? Because of course I've gotten a new one since then, right? And so by putting the year on the folder has been so helpful. And then also just using broad categories. 90% of what you put into file folder storage will never be accessed again. So don't worry about micro categorizing and filing it. Just make big broad categories, put the year on, and if you need to find something, it's not going to be that hard. Okay, so let's just circle back to this. So again, it depends like how you're wired. If you want to have this like sitting out, something in a basket you put away, or even hanging on the wall. It really depends how your family functions and the space that you have. I mean, whenever possible, I think it's great to not have it on a flat surface because that's just stressful. So whenever possible, getting it up off the counter, I think is best. But the categories that I have in here are to do. So this is like my action stuff that has to be done. And I try to keep as few things in there as possible. But if it's like a card that needs to get sent, an RSVP to send, an order form to send in, some kind of, reply, something I have to do, that goes in here. I do have a separate bills to pay since Tom and I kind of go back and forth with that. And I like having the bills separated out. So whenever a bill comes in, I open it up, I take it out of the envelope, I put it in there, and then that's there for whenever we do bills. And then calendar or reference. So again, if it's like a sports schedule or a wedding invite, but you need to like keep the address handy, those types of things can go into your calendar. Again, I want to keep that out of my to-do file because it's not actually a to-do unless I'm hoping to like enter all the dates into my phone. I try to keep my to-do file like it's just so bare minimum so I'm more successful with doing it each week. I also made a printable that I'll link to down below that kind of breaks down this whole system, and it can also be helpful like on the inside of your to-do folder, like make a list of what goes in here, what goes on the inside of your reference stuff. So as you're learning this system or trying to like really stay on top of it, it's helpful to jog your memories. So that's all on that printable, so find the link down below. And then I also keep like our family calendars here. So it's just kind of nice to see birthdays and, you know, when you just want to like look at the full month or something for planning, I like having that in there as well. And so again, the only way to keep this up, you can make it as cute as you want, right? The only way to stay on top of it is if we plan a time each week to go through it. So again, for most of us, that's where the breakdown is. It's not the actual container, right? It's the how do I stay on top of it. So like I said, knowing how we're wired, how we're individually wired is huge. It's so helpful. Do I need outside accountability? Okay. Can I be accountable to myself? Maybe. And beyond that, it might be helpful to pair it with something you enjoy. So if there's a show you watch every week, I don't know, do people still do that? But if there's something, you know, that's kind of enjoyable, or you'll put on a, you know, a Netflix show in the background, and then we just pair it with something that we kind of like. And what you will find though, it's intimidating at first, right? Because we're taking all of our old paper clutter piles, like if you have tons of piles sitting around, put this in place and then sort into these categories, right? So this is helpful to put all this in place and then take your old paper clutter piles and sort into these. And what's gonna happen is initially your to-do file is probably gonna be kind of thick, right? Because we haven't done it in 4 years, right? But once you stay on top of this every week or two, usually there's just like a few things in here, and it does not take me long at all. So it's like if we do the dishes every day, that doesn't take that long. If we wait a week, then it takes forever, right? So as you get in the habit of doing this, it becomes so much less intimidating. It's not a big deal at all. I mean, paper is not even a second thought in our house anymore. It's not a big deal at all because A, I'm very selective with what we keep, but B, I've gotten in the habit of staying on top of this. So I really want to encourage you today that there's nothing wrong with you if paper has gotten out of control in your home. You just might not have had quite the right system in place. You might need to add a couple extra elements, and you might need some outside accountability, and that's totally understandable. So I have full confidence that you can stay on top of paper in your home, no longer have random piles floating all over the place, not having to rush to stack stuff up if someone is gonna come over, and that you could very quickly get to a point where you're like, not even a big deal anymore. So I really would like that for you. All right, well, I would love to know what has helped get paper clutter under control in your home. If you would share that down below, your ideas are gold, and I'm so grateful for them as well. Or are you recognizing, is there a piece of this you want to implement at your house? Are you kind of getting an idea where the breakdown is? Share that down below too. It's always helpful for others to see that as well. But I love you. I hope you have a great day, and I'll see you again soon.